Dr. Lee. I'm Scott Staples. I'm in your class. I'm going to be doing my narrative message now, and this is my audience. So, here we go. Hi, 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 hi. Okay. Hopefully, you got everybody. Now, here we go. Starting my timer right now. So, today we are going to be talking about a man, and he was a Roman soldier. And the thing about this man that we need to learn is that he was pulled towards something that he really didn't understand fully, but he reached out to it anyway. So this text that we're going to be going through is the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7, verses 1 through 10. And the Gospel is just a book in the Bible that explains the ministry and the life of Jesus Christ. This is one of the four. The author of the book was Luke. He was a doctor and highly educated. And he wrote this about 70 CE. And he wanted to write a full account of Christ's ministry while he was on earth. And he did it mainly to the Greek-speaking northern Mediterranean area of the world, specifically to a man named Theophilus. And then he also wrote another book that talked about the founding of the Christian church and spreading throughout the Roman Empire. Another book called Acts, and that was also specifically to Theophilus. The chapter that we're going to be talking about is the healing of a person. Before this, Jesus preached a sermon, and there's a huge crowd of people, and he performed miracles, and he taught stuff, and these people were presumably following him into Capernaum, where this message takes place. Just to give you a little bit of context. So this is the passage. After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. The centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them, but when he was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I do not presume to come to you, but only speak the word and let my servant be healed. For I am also a man set under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd that followed him, he said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. That's where we are. So the story starts out in Capernaum, and this is one of the main three places that Christ did most of his ministry. And it was actually traditionally thought of as Jesus' home while on earth. And it's about 1,500 people or so. And in the text, it says that a centurion lived there, and that he had a slave that was sick. And there are two words that we really need to learn about. That's centurion and slave. Now, a centurion was a Roman soldier, and he was in charge of about 100 soldiers. Century, 100 years, centurion, 100 soldiers. Easy peasy, right? And the centurion, his main job was essentially to whip these soldiers into shape. He was in charge of discipline. So this centurion had authority, he was respected, he was important, he was probably pretty well off. Now, the second word that we have to look at is slave. And Luke uses two different words in the Greek to describe this person. While he's giving the account, he uses the word doulos, which is like just a human tool to do labor. In our minds, slavery means something completely different than what it meant in the Roman world. We think of racism and violence and brutality and families being ripped away from each other. In in the Roman world, it wasn't really like that too much. It was much more humane and gentle, and sometimes even voluntary. People would go into slavery to pay off the debt. Um, but when when Luke is describing the words that the centurion is uh, saying, and he gets to the word slave as spoken by the centurion, he uses a different word. He uses the word and that means it's actually a child. Probably hasn't reached puberty yet. Depending on the context, that's where we get it. If it's a male or female, here we don't know. And the important thing is that it has a connotation of affection, kindness, and love. So this centurion probably thought of this slave as his own child. That's how much he cared for him. That's why he stepped out. So the Jewish leaders were sent by the centurion to talk to Jesus. Now, if you don't know, the Jewish leaders and Jesus did not get along very well. There's a strict moral code, ethics that go into, and laws that need to be followed if you're going to be a rabbi, a Jewish leader, or a teacher, which Jesus was. And Jesus didn't do that. He would heal and teach on the Sabbath and stuff like that, which is their holy day, and not supposed to walk 50 feet from your house, or else it's considered doing work. That kind of stuff. And so, what compelled the Jews to actually interact with Jesus if they didn't have to? The reason was because the centurion built in a synagogue. A synagogue is a Jewish place of worship. He wasn't a regent or a governor or a mayor or anything like that. He did not have to do this. But he is what most scholars call a God-fearer. And a God-fearer is somebody who has he's in a specific religion or culture, and he's interested in a different religion, but because of some cultural norm or something like that, he doesn't step over fully. He, it could be a familial thing, like, it's not the religion of the family, so he doesn't go for it. Or it's a government thing, which is probably more in line with here, because Romans were polytheistic. They believed in many gods, whereas Jews believed in one God, being monotheistic. And so what he would do is he loved the ethics and the morality and the codes and everything about the Jewish system, but he wasn't able to fully go. He had this pull. He wanted to, but he didn't for some reason. And we don't know what that is. So what he did to contribute was he built them a place where they could worship, and maybe somehow he could feel a part of it, even though he wasn't. And he did this at great cost to himself, because scholars say that he probably took a couple of years' salary out of his own pocket to build this. So when the centurion asks the Jewish leaders to talk to Jesus, they're like, well, we can't say no. So they go, and they ask him to heal the slave. Now, it doesn't take much convincing at all. Jesus is actually on his way to the centurion's house to heal this slave. And then the centurion sends out the friend and says, no, don't come to my house. Which is kind of like a mixed message type thing. And the reason why is that he has such respect for their codes and their laws and stuff. He knows that if Jesus, as a Jewish rabbi, goes into his home, he will be considered impure, because the Romans were considered pagans, because they believed in multiple gods, not the one true God according to Judaism. So he had that much respect. But he said, I am a man of authority. I have people under me, and I say do this, they do it. And in so many, he doesn't say it outright, but he says, I know what kind of authority you have, and that's spiritual authority. So you can just say it right there, and you can maintain your purity, and my servant will be healed. And Jesus turns to the crowd who just saw him do all these things and say, I've never seen faith like this in all of Israel. And that includes the people who just saw him do miracles. And this guy has never encountered him before. And so we have to And so it just ends. The servant's healed. We don't hear about the centurion. We don't hear about the slave. We just know that he's alive, if it is a he. And so the question is, what happened? What what happened to that pull he had? Was that the thing that made him step over? And so what I want to ask you is, does the idea of a God healer resonate at all? That there, me and my wife call it, some people pray to the great whatever, you know? And like maybe you're in a situation where you throw up a Hail Mary pass and you're like, God, if you're out there, my brother's sick, can you please help out? And it works. And then you make that step over. Or maybe you do the same thing and nothing happens, but you still feel that pull. You know? Maybe you're afraid of what your family might think. Or maybe it goes against the social norm of the context in which you live. Or maybe you're afraid it's gonna be hard. There's a billion scenarios. But I invite you to maybe take that, follow that pull, see where it takes you. The best thing that can happen if you follow Jesus Christ, like we hope that the centurion did, is that you'll have a fuller life. It probably will be harder, but one day, according to this, you'll get to spend it in paradise. The worst case scenario is you're like, hey, that was cool. I'm nowhere soft. So I just ask you just to rattle that around in your brain, see where it takes you, and that's all.